Is it just me, or has 2025 been a pretty banger year for video games? Claire Obscure redefined what a turn-based RPG could be. Nintendo launched the Switch 2, and I'm sure that was neat. I wouldn't know. I didn't buy one.
And there's no money in here! How delightful.
And Lost Soul Aside was... well, it was certainly released, and you gotta give it that. Earlier this very month, we got what I consider to be a mostly fantastic sci-fi horror game with Chronos: The New Dawn, a game developed by Team Bloober, who just last year knocked it out of the park with their remake of Silent Hill 2. Now, imagine I segued from whatever the hell I was just going on about to talking about the newest Silent Hill game, Silent Hill F. A couple of years ago, Konami announced its plan to resurrect the Silent Hill franchise with a slew of new games and a sequel to the movie people kind of like, I think. To everyone's surprise, the Silent Hill 2 remake kicked all that off with a bang, and now it's time to see if Konami can keep the streak going with its second big release. Technically it's the third, but I'm sure Konami is as eager as everyone else to forget Ascension ever happened. Someone thought that whole fiasco was a good idea, so keep that in mind if you ever feel down about yourself. Now, to be completely upfront, I am not the biggest Silent Hill fan. I've got nothing against the series or anything, and I've enjoyed the Quiet Mountain games I've played, even if that's just two different versions of Silent Hill 2. I just wasn't really all that interested in this game when it was first announced. In my defense, all we got at that point was a vague teaser trailer that looked very, very cool, but didn't really tell us anything about the actual game. So I moved on without giving it much thought, and then suddenly it was years later and we got a real trailer. And goddamn was that a great trailer. I went from completely uninterested to super duper interested. The Silent Hill remake being as good as it was also contributed to that interest. The closer we got to the release date, the more they started showing off the game, but I was sold off of that first trailer. I mean, I love me some survival horror, and the game's aesthetic was this wild combination of eerily beautiful and deeply disturbing. And did I mention I love me some survival horror? Well, the time has finally come, and I have played the game. And I'm gonna review it, which I should really just get on with because this is already a long ass intro. Ever since that first revealed teaser, it's been obvious that Silent Hill F was created with a very specific aesthetic in mind. That aesthetic centers around the concept of finding terror in beauty. The idea that something so immensely beautiful and perfect can become deeply upsetting. It's a fascinating approach to take with a horror game. One that's potentially difficult to pull off. On top of all that jazz, Silent Hill F also made the bold decision to take the series out of its namesake town and move it across the pond to Japan. Konami even recruited a famous Japanese writer to write the game, whose pen name is on the screen right now because I'm not even gonna try. The original Silent Hill games were developed in Japan, but with this game specifically, they wanted it to be 100% Japanese horror. Ironically, Neobards, the developers for F, are not Japanese, so hey, that's neat, I guess. From the offset, the whole game just seemed very ambitious and distinctive. It genuinely seemed to be driven by a strong creative force, and this is Konami we're talking about, so that in itself is something special. All of that paid off wonderfully too, because I think this game is great. Not perfect, mind you, it has some flaws, but overall Silent Hill F is a truly fantastic, one-of-a-kind experience. Arguably one of the most uniquest aspects of this game is its take on the classic survival horror gameplay formula. Instead of using your standard approach, where you're strutting around carrying a small arsenal and blasting away at whatever's trying to murder you from the safety of being slightly out of reach, F removes the luxury of fighting your enemies at any kind of distance, rather forcing you to get up close and personal. That's right, you don't get a gun or any kind of ranged weapon at all, mostly just steel pipes and the occasional kitchen knife. One of the prevailing themes of the game is the internal struggle within a protagonist, Hinako. It is a deeply intimate brand of horror, and forcing you to confront her literal demons face to face really drives that home. This is a survival horror game where your only offensive option is melee combat, so said combat needs to feel rewarding and fun to play. F's combat is not necessarily the most robust system ever made, but it does go deep enough to create a very satisfying gameplay loop. You are playing as a teen girl though, so you're not exactly going to be performing insane combos and stylish finishers. She can swing fast or she can swing hard, and that's about it. Actually, it wouldn't be a modern action influenced game without some kind of counter and or dodge mechanic. Certain enemy attacks can be countered and interrupted if you time your response properly. The timing can be tricky, but thanks to the power of focusing real good, it can be made easier. Hinako can use focus to better see what attacks can be countered and, counter them. However, it's not a survival horror game without resource management, and one such resource is Hinako's sanity, because why not? Focusing causes you to lose sanity, and you can't focus if you got no sanity, so you need to be careful how much you rely on it. Along with managing sanity, you also have to keep an eye on her health and stamina. Health is pretty self-explanatory, and stamina is tied to all the physical actions Hinako can make, like running or stabbing. There are various items that can be used to replenish all of the above, which makes exploring your environment basically a necessity. I mean, this is all primo survival horror. It's just built around melee combat rather than gunplay, and I think it all works pretty well. Outside of the shift to melee combat, it's actually all pretty standard, but it's still cool that they decided to switch things up at all. I always appreciate a good swing at something new or different. Good swing, like swinging the weapons in the game. Did you get it? You got it. F's gameplay definitely leans hard on action elements, but I think it manages to utilize them to create very tense encounters. Plus, the game is tough. Being able to dodge and counter can only go so far in keeping you breathing when you're facing off with horrible hell creatures. Once again, you are playing as a 14-year-old girl, so you are never in a position where you are more powerful than whatever you are dealing with. Well, mostly never, but that's spoiler talk, so never mind. A horror game can lose a whole lot of horrorness when you introduce too much action, but luckily F avoids this problem. It may be a different vibe, but the intense nature of the melee fisticuffs still provides one hell of a thrill. It probably helps that I played the game on hard for my first playthrough, for some reason. I usually don't. I stick to a comfortable medium, but the game called me out, and if my only two options are story or hard, then I'm going with hard. Apparently. It was brutal and frustrating at times, especially because the over-the-shoulder camera works really well for shooting, but can't always handle the tight corridors you do some of the fighting in. It does not take a lot for you to go from full health to none health, so you don't have a lot of room for mistakes, of which I make a lot of. Still though, I never had to switch to the easier difficulty, so hey, I consider that the right amount of hard. Once you get past the novelty of the melee only combating, the actual gameplay is pretty ordinary, but still well executed. The story, on the other hand, well, to be honest, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about the story. I definitely liked it overall, but the ending might have been just a touch too vague. The characters are good, I like the protagonist Hinako, and the setting of whatever the town is called is awesome. A lot of work went into recreating 1960s Japan, and it looks fantastic most of the time. I did have some very weird performance issues, but only at very specific parts of the game. Mostly when the town was covered with the horrible fleshy fungus stuff. Outside of those rare instances, the game is just gorgeous. You do spend a lot of the game in this mysterious temple-like thing that is a little less interesting on the surface, but you do get some of the most striking and memorable visuals from this section of the game. Without really getting into spoilers, my issue with the story is I just didn't really feel satisfied by the ending. I do think there's a reason for that. The game has multiple endings, and it encourages you to replay it a few times to unlock them all. I assume doing so will reveal more of the bigger picture and presumably feel more like an actual conclusion. I don't have a problem with any of that. I'm never going to be against a game that wants you to keep returning and rewards you by giving you a deeper look into the narrative. I think my issue here is I just didn't get a satisfying enough ending for the first playthrough. I'll probably play the game again. I want to see more of the endings. I just wish the initial ending had a bit more oomph to it. All that also means I don't really know if I can say definitively that I like the story or not, because I don't feel like I've gotten a true ending yet. I can and will say that I do like what I've seen so far, and as long as the gameplay stays engaging enough, I'll work towards seeing what else it has to offer. Overall, the aspect I loved the most about Silent Hill F was its visuals. In classic Quiet Mountain fashion, there's a lot of story told in enemy designs, and the way the environment reflects the subconscious of the person trapped in the fog. Silent Hill loves its symbolism, and F is absolutely not an exception. It excels at filling every detail in with deeper meaning, a lot of which I'm sure just fucking soared over my head. Going back to earlier, this game was built to be 100% Japanese horror, and even if I don't know the specifics, I can tell that there's a lot of cultural influence present. In fact, the culture of 1960s Japan even plays a pretty significant role in the story. It's all really phenomenal. I also think the devs just completely nailed the finding and horror beauty thing they were going for. There is so much of this game that is this bizarre combination of grotesque and stunning. It for sure gets brutal, and there's gore aplenty if that's what you're looking for, but even beyond that, there is something so terrifying about the world the game delves you into. I love a game that takes a risk in an effort to stand apart, and Silent Hill F is one such game. I fully recommend it, in case you didn't pick up on that, especially to fans of the series and horror in general. I will say that if you have severe trypophobia, then you should probably skip this one. It will ruin your day. Everyone else should check it out though, and if you have played it, then let me know what you thought of it in the comments. Seems like the reception has been positive, but I'd still love to hear some opinions straight from the source. I also hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. So mostly. If you did, then drop a like and hit a subscribe. You know, why not? Not totally sure what I want to cover next, but 2025 is not quite done with big releases yet. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in whatever we do next.